Today we're looking at some artwork done by Marlene Healy. She was born in England. Her father was in the Air Force and she moved around a lot as a child, living in England, France, Germany, and the United States. She started drawing and painting at age 5, using her experiences from all the different places she lived to inspire her art. She always tries to capture something fresh and exciting, and the goal of her work is to always capture a harmonious balance between texture, color, and design. She uses layer upon layer of color, which draws the viewer in for a closer look. As one moves around each piece, exciting color changes occur as a result of the levels of texture and the layers of colors. All right, let's get some things out of your art toolkit. Grab the brown piece of paper to protect your work surface, the watercolor paper, and a pencil first. All right, flip your paper over and write your full name and your teacher. All right, to begin with, we're going to need to find some shapes that are inside your art toolkit. So I found my cup, which has a good circle, so I'm going to go ahead and put some circles on my paper. You can also make the circles go off the paper. See how I cut some of these circles in half, or maybe didn't leave them as full circles. I also experimented with some of the circles that were on the paint cups that we had given you guys. So I tried putting some of these, the smaller ends and the larger ends. It was a lot more difficult to use the smaller edge of it, so I don't recommend doing that, but you're certainly welcome to if you want to. I also still have my packages left in my art toolkit, so I'm going to go ahead and use this rectangle shape to trace a nice rectangle in my paper. Again, you don't have to put it all the way on the paper. You could put it a little bit off the paper, and you can make it go through some of the other shapes you put on there. You know, another thing you could use is the head of the glue. And as I think about this, I could have just taken the actual cap off, and it probably would have been a lot easier in tracing this. There's no specific instructions as to where to put these various shapes or what shapes to use, so just use your own creativity and do what you feel like you want to for this project. Some things to keep in mind: sometimes it's interesting to make them go into each other, or sometimes you might want it off by itself in the corner. It's your choice. Another tool you can use in your art toolkit is your other piece of watercolor paper, and you could use it as a straight edge if you decide you want to do some long lines across the paper or vertically across the paper, whatever you decide. You can use all of these different things in your toolkit to create whatever shapes you want to on this piece of paper. Have fun with it. Now, once you're happy with the number of lines and shapes and everything, now it's time to start thinking about, okay, some of these shapes are overlapping and maybe I don't want all of their edges to show through. So this would be a good time that you can decide if you want to erase some of those lines to create a little bit of dimension and depth in it, like I'm doing here with some of these circles. Notice how the rectangle will now look like it's on top of that one circle. Now I also want to do something similar with these two circles. I want one of them on top of the other, so I'm erasing some of the parts where they overlap. And now I'm just cleaning up some of the lines wherever there's just some stray pencil marks. I'm just cleaning it up. All right, now for color. You have lots of coloring tools in your art toolkit. I noticed in some of Marlene Healy's artwork that she uses some gold. I don't have gold, but I do have silver, so I'm going to try putting some silver in my piece. You don't have to do this. If you'd like to, you can. This is just something I chose to do. You also have oil pastels that you can use to color with. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll outline the section first that I want to use oil pastel color in, and then I will color it in and try to get it nice and hard so that the white doesn't show through. And pretty much I just carefully went around and traced around the areas again and filled in the different sections with different oil pastel colors. And I tried to put colors that I thought looked nice next to each other, and I also tried to spread it out across the paper. Now you may decide as you're doing this that maybe you want another line somewhere, so I just grabbed a straight edge again and added in yet another line. So really just keep continuing to color in every so often a section in the oil pastel color that you'd like. It will make it more interesting though if you don't do it in every section. Notice I even outlined a section in a color. It's all up to you. The last step before we move on to adding the watercolors is to take your black oil pastel, and I want you to go back over every pencil line that you have on here. So that means every single section will be outlined by this black oil pastel. Remember to press hard. Now that you're done with your oil pastels, go ahead and put them back in your baggie and clean them up from your workspace. Now it's time to get out your watercolor palette, your watercolor brush, grab your cup, put some water in it, and also grab a paper towel or some toilet paper. Now it's time to be creative and decide how you want to apply the watercolor. Remember, if you put water on first in the section that you want it on, you can achieve a more diluted look, a lighter color look if you put the water on first and then you bring just a tad bit of the pigment color over into it, and you'll end up with a lighter color. If you're looking for a deeper color, you'll want to add more of the color directly from the palette. Also, remember, the more water you use, the lighter the color will be. The more pigment color you use, the richer it will be. All right, so just finish adding in all the rest of the color to the empty spaces on your art piece. Use the watercolor to fill in the white spots, and try to use some variation, and don't do everything vibrant. Do some that are a little bit more diluted looking, and do some that don't do them all diluted, but do some that are vibrant looking too. So variation makes things more interesting. So you can even try mixing some colors if you'd like, but remember not to mix complementary colors because they make brown, unless brown is the color that you'd like. Also, if you need to do any blotting, you have your tissue paper there. You can do that. All right, now that everything's filled in and you're happy with the way it looks, congratulations, great job. Hope you had a fun time doing this lesson, and now it's time to clean up. Remember to wrap up your watercolors and dry off your brush, and wash your cup out and dry it, and put everything back inside the art toolkit, and so that it is ready for you to use another time. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this overlapping shapes project. At this point, you might decide maybe you like looking at it in a different alignment, but either way, it looks great.